Siga Broadcasting le informa que el siguiente programa es un programa pagado y el contenido total es responsabilidad de quien lo produce o anuncia.
Bienvenidos a Red Lip Latina Radio, the bold, unapologetic voice of San Antonio and beyond. We're turning up the heat on local, state, and national issues while breaking it down with real talk and real passion. From the streets of San Antonio to the halls of power at the White House, we're keeping you informed, engaged, and fired up. And because patriotism is more than just words, we're shining a spotlight on real changemakers, the fearless, the hardworking patriots making a difference in our communities. This is Red Lip Latina Radio, where we speak loud, proud, and with a little extra spice.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Red Lip Latina Radio. This is Jessica Garza, co-host with Cindy Dominguez. I am so happy to see everybody and to hear our viewers from online to the radio. If you guys are with us, please share this show today, and please comment below.
Mm-hmm. Oh. No, that's all you. But we're on,
yes,
guys.
We are
on. Even though we can't hear ourselves. Y'all be safe out. Oh, y'all don't say nada. Okay, we're back. Woo. All right, guys. Just bear with us as we log in and get started here. Thank you to our wonderful producer behind the scenes that's always very attentive, Otto. We appreciate you. All right, girl. What are we up to today?
Well, today I took a different route to get here.
Why? What happened?
Because of the traffic.
Oh, yeah.
And I actually got here faster. I exited like Cesar Chavez, so I was able to, before Cesar Chavez, and I was able to see downtown more. I was like, okay, I think I'm going to do that again, because normally I take Laredo, exit, and it's like congested. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I think I found a different route.
I came from the south today. I was helping out a wonderful candidate on our south side with Miss Letty. So we had a little bit of fun out there for a couple hours. But I'm super grateful to be here. And have you shared the news about our lipsticks? That we are back and restocked and reloaded. So, sorry, guys, just bear with us just through this few seconds of programming issues. But, guys, we're here behind the scenes. And as soon as you see who's going to be on camera with us, you're going to be shocked. Mm-hmm. So, stay tuned in. Just stay away from the bumper in front of you while you're headed through traffic. And just bear with us. Here we go. So, it's okay. We represent La Nuestra anyway. So, what's happening is we got to get the right logos up on the... up in the air. But so if you haven't heard, our Red Lip Latina beauty line is completely back in stock and ready for sale, right? So we have them in front of us. I have the Cindy, which is a red with a blue undertone. So it comes out kind of a cherry red. That's the best way to put that one. And yours, Jessica?
Mine's a red, and it's kind of like a Coca-Cola red.
There you go. Oh, there we go. Now we're on screen.
Oh, there we go. Now
Otto,
you guys can see us.
Don't panic, Otto.
He's sweating.
He's panicking right there, but it's okay. We don't hold it against you. But all right. So now that we are on screen, you can see our special guest. Mm-hmm. We're waiting so we can show you. We have the Honorable Kiko Conseco here.
Thank you, Cindy and Jessica, for having me here today.
You're welcome.
Just don't make me put on your lipstick.
Well,
it matches your shirt.
Well, I was going to say that may be just, one of the red lips shirt that I'm wearing, or sweater that I'm wearing.
So let me just say that if you wore lipstick, you wouldn't be on our show. So let's just clear that up real quick. So thank God we love our radio station. So we are, the only English show on a Spanish Christian radio, but we're super grateful to be here. So if you wear lipstick, we'd be like, next candidate.
I don't do it. Don't worry.
No questions asked. Trust me, I've known you for a few years, so I know that's not the issue there. But I'm looking at this little card right here, and it did say former representative of CD23. So that makes you the Honorable Kiko Conseco, and that you have a conservative record. You fight for life, liberty, prosperity. You fight for secure and safe borders, and you fight for an economy that works for all. So tell us about you, sir.
Well, I've been a lawyer for a little more than 50 years, even though I still look 20 years old.
Yeah, about 23.
No, maybe 25.
Okay, 25.
No, and I've practiced law here in the United States, and I also have a degree in law from the University of Paris in France.
Oh, wow.
So it also helped me navigate a lot of work that I did with Americans that were doing business in Latin America, or Latin Americans that were doing business in the United States as a lawyer. Sometimes people ask me, well, what kind of lawyer are you, Kiko? And I would say, I'm the good kind.
Oh, I love it.
I did very little criminal work in my early years as a lawyer. Most of my work was in financial services, in businesses, in setting up organizations and getting things cleared up for people to do their business and do them legally, whether it's here or abroad or elsewhere.
Okay, well, that's quite a definition of a lawyer there. Anything abroad, it must have been fun too, right? Being in Paris and France. And
Well, I'll tell you one thing. Every time I'd come back, I'd want to get off the plane and kiss the ground.
yes,
Because, quite frankly, there is no other country like this country.
that's right.
The values that we were brought up with, the freedoms that we have, and all the other benefits that we have here in this country to make of ourselves who we are and what we want to be. And that's the beauty of this country. So I embrace this country, and I've seen other places, whether it's in Latin America, Mexico, or South America, or even in European countries, that we claim that they are our parents, so to speak. This is the country to be in. I'm glad and I'm very proud to be an American. And that's one of the reasons why initially I ran for Congress, because I felt that I had some tools in my experience that I could make sure that this country does things in the right way. I focused very, very clearly on economic issues. I was on financial services. And at the time, as we all remember, back in 2008 and 2009, we had a huge economic crisis that took down a lot of financial institutions.
Yes.
And what happened was that the other side, which is the Democrats, they passed all these laws. It was like shooting a fly with a 12-gauge shotgun. They touched briefly on the issues that ailed our economy that came to light in 2008. But at the same time, what they did was that they caused a lot of damage to a lot of businesses, a lot of people, a lot of salaried people, and things like that. One of those laws was Dodd-Frank, and another one was Sarbanes-Oxley. And in committee, I had 3 subcommittees that I was in. I personally passed many laws that would trim those down and get the unnecessary aspects of that law to get it out of the way. Unfortunately, at the time, the Senate was controlled by the Senate and by the Democrats, and most of the bills that went through committee, went through the floor of the House, passed. They just languished at the doorsteps of the Senate. I also did a lot of other things. I did good things for San Antonio. At that time, they were trying to expand the park, the Missions Park. And I pushed through, not just committee, but also through the floor of the House, a bill that would grant federal park status to more of the grounds there at the San Antonio Missions. Very important, too, was a lot of the violence that was happening along the border. Remember, my district, the
Yes.
23rd Congressional District that I'm now running for, but I held before, I was the congressman for it. It has 800 miles of Texas-Mexico border. And there were a lot of gangs that were coming in, that were causing havoc, that were bringing in drugs and narcotics into our country. And as a consequence, they were doing a lot of harm to a lot of the communities that were there along the border.
San Antonio through El Paso.
all the way to El Paso and into El Paso. So there are about 100,000 voters in El Paso for this district.
Yes.
There are about 400,000 out of Bexar County. And then spaces in between.
So
In total, there are 27 counties
Yes.
in the 23rd Congressional District.
So immigration was already, I mean, it's always been a big issue, but like right now it's like, you know, they're shining the light because of the president that we have. But back then, would you say it was more controlled to now, or?
It was a lot more controlled at that time. The problem with the border was the, I call them in Spanish, pandillas, the gangs that were bringing in a lot of trouble, a lot of narcotics, a lot of violence onto the border. I was not in Homeland Security Committee, but I went into Homeland Security and very successfully, because remember, each committee has Democrats and Republicans. I was very successful in passing a bill that was going to control that.
Yes.
That bill passed the floor of the House, and it was my bill. But what happened again, it just stopped at the door of the Senate and never taken up. But if it had, it would have gone a long way in making sure that we didn't have this horrible invasion into our country that we saw for the last five years.
Yeah.
And probably, you mentioned immigration. You know, it's not a one subject thing. There's immigration. And immigration is good. It's good for the economy. It's good for Americanism. My parents were immigrants. They were not born in this country. They were born in Mexico. I was born in this country. And I'll never forget that when I'd go see my cousins, and after 2 or 3 days, you know, they get tired of playing with you and all that. And they say, Kiko, eres gringo. And I'd come back, cry to my father. And he said, don't worry, son. They're just jealous because we're in this country where the things are done right. And that's what you need to be proud of. I've been proud of my
Let me ask you some
country.
questions
Yes,
about
ma'am.
that part. So
Yeah.
you were born in what city? What city is
Laredo.
it? Okay, in Laredo, Texas.
Yes.
So definitely know what it means to come back and kiss the ground.
Yeah.
When I spent 12 beautiful days in Cancun, but when I got here, I was so grateful to be back. So I know I only belong in San Antonio, Texas, and nowhere else, right? So not even, I don't belong in Laredo, even though I like it. But I wanted to ask you, when you were first elected, what year to what year were you in office?
I was elected in November of 2010. And then, because Nancy Pelosi couldn't stand to have a Hispanic Republican in a district that was overwhelmingly Hispanic. And I call it Latino. So she ran a guy by the name of Gallego against me. And at that time, the 23rd Congressional District was a teeter-totter district.
Yes.
And I lost because they redistricted it in 2012 and they made it more Democrat, and that's when I lost.
Okay, so I do remember that era. Okay, and then so after that run, you lost? Okay, so what brings you back around this time? Because that's a few years ago. I mean,
It was quite a few years ago.
Yeah.
In our time, I'd say it's been 12 years, if I can count still. But what brings me back is something that I grew to love this area, grew to love the people out there. You know, it's a very, very diverse area. You've got San Antonio, and then you've got El Paso, which is very, very different from a large city, but nonetheless a large city. And you have many border towns. And remember, I was born in Laredo. I know the border, and I know the important things of the border with commerce and trade with not just Mexico, but with all of Latin America. And then you've got a lot of ranches and farms. And there are a lot of people out there. Some of them want to grow their small towns so that they become bigger, more opportunities for a lot of people. And others want to stay quiet, small, and rural. They say, I want to be outside the grid. I don't want to be in the grid. And then, of course, you've got the huge Permian Basin, because you've got counties coming from New Mexico all the way back down to San Antonio that have a huge amount of oil and gas production, which is the lifeblood of our economy, and it's very important to protect. So knowing these areas, knowing what the people want and the people need, the issues of water, which is very sacred. I mean, most of the water is the aquifer that we have here in San Antonio, the Edwards Aquifer, and that is an aquifer that feeds all this I-35 and east and north. But over there, you have very little aquifers, and the aquifers that they do have are deep and they're very salty. So sometimes you have to fight places like Midland, who have completely controlled a lot of the water that takes care of the Permian Basin, and also Midland and Odessa, but refuses to take or help Fort Stockton or Marfa and other places that need that water, including the farmers and the ranchers. So water is a big difference, a big issue in that whole area, and it's very important. It's a lifeblood of economy and life itself. So those are big issues that need to be taken care of and are very important. Also, the opportunities that are given to a lot of people with education. We have many areas in this area that have very low educational attainment. And even though it's not the role of the federal government to take care of education, it is the role of the state. And I think that as a congressman, you always have that ability to be on the bully pulpit, to try and lead, to make things change in the areas that are most needy, whether it's healthcare or education that are so needy in a lot of these areas. There's one area where there's a convergence of Highway 20 and Highway 10, and it's before you get to El Paso, but it's still out there almost in the deserts. And there are many accidents there that happen. And there are only two places to go, and you can only go there if you've been injured, and that's either by helicopter to Midland or helicopter to El Paso. And because of that, many people die without that many to help. So those are very important issues that need to be addressed by a representative for that area.
Okay, so previously you were in an area, and within those 12 years, these are the issues that have come up now, or there are continuous issues within those last 12 years that you've been gone that haven't been addressed?
They've come up from time to time, but lately, I'm going to be challenging a fellow Republican in this seat.
So that is a hot topic amongst other Republicans, is that you are running against an incumbent, but
Correct.
then you or yourself, were a previous, so you are the honorable, right? So how do you feel about that? I mean, because, some people will say, why did you do that? So-and-so's already sitting congressman. Why would you come up against him? But you're not coming up against him per se. You're coming because, just answer that part. You are coming back into the race because...
I feel that there's a deficiency in the current congressman, whether morally, ethically, or in character, and also in what he has professed to do and did not do, whether it's the security of our border or whether it's other issues that are very important. And I'm going to give you an example, okay? When I won this district in 2010, there was a Democratic congressman at that time, and he had been appointed to the committee that spends money, that puts money out there and disperses a lot of money. And he thought that he was going to beat me by making sure that all of these people would get all this hunk of money within the district. He didn't, because you cannot use other people's money to buy your way or keep your post and your position. You can only do it by being a servant. And I think that politicians forget that they are first and foremost a servant of the people. They are employed by the people.
They work for the people.
And they work for the people. It's extremely important. And just like you would lose your job if you misbehave or if you don't do what your boss tells you to do. Mm-hmm. It's extremely important that you follow those rules and that you stay with those rules and you stay clean and you stay right and that you listen to the people that sent you there and you do the right thing.
So did that change come within you this year, last year, or when the last term started?
It's been growing.
When did it? Okay.
It's been growing. And by November of this year, I was fed up.
Okay, so that was the tipping point, November.
That's right.
You're like, that's it, I'm done. I am running. We're going to bring in an extra chair, if you don't mind. We'll get the green chair, and we'll move you over here, sir. Scooch over here, and we're going to invite our next guest to join us. But I don't want you to leave the conversation yet because, you know, if both of y'all get elected together, you know, we're all friends here, right? But if both of y'all get elected together, then you would be collaborating on issues,
Working on
right?
a lot of things, especially for San Antonio.
Yes, so I do like that. So, but let's see here. So you previously served in Congress. Let's see here. You did accomplish a lot, right? So now, what would you tell the listeners? Just say like one or two sentences. What do you have to tell the listeners? So why should they consider you the honorable?
First of all, I've lived my life under Christian principles. I'm a practicing Catholic, and I live according to the tenets of my faith. I've been a family man for 47 years, have 3 children and 3 granddaughters. That's number one. But number two, if you look at my record of what I've done, not just when I was in Congress, but also in the years in between leaving Congress and now, I have been a servant for a lot of people, helping out a lot of people, making sure the right things are done. As a lawyer and also as a volunteer for a variety of organizations. I've been with the Texas Public Policy Foundation. I was the head of the Election Integrity Project and during 2020. And I have been contributing on a variety of other issues regarding the safety and the welfare of the people here. Go to my website, consejoforcongress.com. And that's not for F-O-R, it's for the number 4, please.
Okay, let me look at that again. So Canseco, CANSECO, the number 4, Congress@gmail.com.
Correct.
Alrighty. So let's see here. So I'll put a picture of that after the show in the comments. I just have one more question. When it comes to veterans, how do you, since the current congressman works with veterans, how would your work with veterans differ from that?
You know, I think that veterans is always going to be an issue because we have the Veterans Administration. And I think the Veterans Administration is bigger than it should be. And it should be more directed towards delivering great service to all of our former members of the military. Health care and other benefits. They need to be the focal point. In a district such as the 23rd, we have a lot of veterans that are not in San Antonio, but they are beyond San Antonio. And oftentimes they have to drive all the way into San Antonio to get the type of care that they need, either at Audie Murphy or elsewhere. And it should be, veteran centers should be all around the district. Because if it's the choice of these veterans to live outside of a big city, then so be it. We need to get those services out there to them.
Oh, excellent, excellent. Well, thank you so much for that. Stay here. Don't go nowhere because we're going to include you in the conversation. But right now, I would like to introduce Mr. Kyle Sinclair. Kyle Sinclair, welcome. You have to share.
How are you doing? Thanks for having me on.
Thanks for coming on again, right? So I think you've been on here before, maybe twice, right?
Yeah.
But Kyle, for the listeners who do not know you, tell them who you are and why are you running for Congress?
Yeah, absolutely. Kyle Sinclair. Look, I'm an 8th generation Texan, born and raised here, lived in San Antonio since 2009. My background is health administration and been involved in the community, served thousands of patients during my career so far in the city of San Antonio. And what I would say is I'm the only healthcare executive in the state of Texas that is running for U.S. Congress. That's a huge deal, right? We spend 17% of our GDP on healthcare, about $5 trillion a year. Everybody hates healthcare. It doesn't matter if you're rich, you're white, you're poor, black, north side, south side, Republican, Democrat. Everybody hates healthcare. We know it's an issue. It's across the board. And so we have a lot of people that need to understand how to fix healthcare. Look, and it caused the longest government shutdown in U.S. history over healthcare. One subject did that, crippled our government.
Yeah, I can remember that.
And it's going to happen again in January. Literally in about two more days, it's probably threatening towards another shutdown. It's complicated, and I'm the one that can help immediately with that. Look, I have a big blended family of 8 kids. I've been in the community, involved in many things. I was the prior vice chair of the Republican Party. I ran against Joaquin Castro in 2022. Been the face of a lot of issues across the city, unapologetic and unafraid to stand up for issues and fight for what I believe in, my core values. And we need leaders that are willing to do that, to step up. And even at the federal level. A lot of times our federal candidates and or elected officials don't get involved in local municipal. And we need leaders that are willing to step up. So I can pause there, but keep going.
So there's one thing I do like about you is that I do feel that you're well versed and researched in a lot of topics,
Yeah.
right? But what do you think is the number one issue for your district? And tell the people one more time. I don't know if you said the district number that you're running for.
Yeah, so Kyle, I am running for Texas 21. So Chip Roy is the current incumbent, is stepping down to run for the Attorney General. So it leaves an open seat. Last time this was an open seat was in 2018 when Lamar Smith retired, and Chip Roy fought a hard battle of 18 candidates right now. So this is a deep Republican district, and when it creates an open seat, you have a lot of people that run for various reasons on that. I say several issues in regards to the district, right? There's some federal issues, and then you got some local issues. And what I'm seeing across as we're on these debates, and we have a ton of debates, is a lot of federal candidates want to get into the weeds of state and municipal. And the caution I give to anybody listening, and anybody listening to the debates, as we're just in Kerrville on Tuesday talking about 250 people, is when you get a congressional candidate say, I'm going to do this in a state, that should be alarming to you. Look, I follow Reagan's statement, which is the 9 scariest words you can hear somebody say is, I'm from the government, I'm here to help, right? And the federal government, as much as I'm running for it, I want less federal government involvement.
Yep.
That is a state municipal issue, right? So water, right? Water concentration, particularly in the hill country, the battery capacity and storage, the power lines going up. That's a huge hill country area, but that's not a federal issue, right? So I do get to talk about it. I share my opinion, and you have some involvement with federal funds, incentives, and stuff like that. But and I would say healthcare is a hot topic. President Trump has made it a hot topic. He's trying to fix healthcare, and he's broken a lot of things. So this is the first time in 5 years I get to talk about healthcare. I'm the only expert in it. So on that. So yeah, I'll pause in there. But yeah, there's quite a few different things. Affordability is a big one, right? Crime as you start getting into the city.
So let's talk about healthcare.
Yeah.
So Trump has made Make America Healthy Again,
Yeah.
right? So how would you tell your constituents in your area that you would push forth or collaborate with the president? Like, what would you bring to the table?
Yeah, that's a great question. So President Trump not only did MAHA with Secretary Kennedy coming aboard, and I think he's done a great job in regards to the food industry and the pyramid. He's done a great job with looking at vaccines and quite a few different things. And then President Trump put out his healthcare plan just last week, and he shared 3 things. A health savings plan, which is great, getting the money away from the insurance company, getting it back to the people. Then he went after price transparency. People should know what they're spending money on. Surprise billing, that's a great thing. And then the third thing, which everybody should love, is a pharmaceutical cost, right? In England, if they get a pill for $10, but in America it's $100 or $1,000, why? So that price gap, right? So if England's getting it cheap, we're going to get it cheap. I added 3 things, worked with a professor, wrote a white paper using my expertise, and sent it up to the White House. And number 1 I shared was that any individual who pays for healthcare premiums gets to write that off in taxes. So if you spend $10,000 covering yourself, you get to write that off in taxes. Look, the federal government doesn't need your $10,000. They send hundreds of billions to Ukraine. They don't need it, but you do.
Yep.
The second thing is the number 1 employer in America is small businesses. Small business is the number one employer, and they can't offer health insurance because the premiums are too high.
Yeah.
So that small businesses get to write that off in their taxes as well. You will see overnight, millions of Americans will get health insurance overnight because the small businesses can offer it. Now, the third thing is no American, whether you're a senior citizen, veteran, or normal working citizen, should ever go into medical bankruptcy due to health issues or death. And so I'm supporting and pushing one government-backed catastrophic healthcare plan that the government should come in and help any individual, and particularly American. And then I'll add on, right, the make healthcare cheap for American citizens and not illegal immigrants. We spend hundreds of billions of dollars where they can walk into the ER and get it for free, but if you're an American citizen, they take you to the SURE. They'll take you to the cleaners. Literally, will send you to court. So, so there's several things I can talk about, but there's several things there.
So there's two things that bother me. One in healthcare coverage, and then one in what do you call it when you get a senior citizen gets the healthcare again? I forgot.
Medicare.
Medicare.
Yeah.
Okay, so two things. In healthcare, when you have a huge deductible, like, you're going to the doctor, you're paying all the out of cost until you reach your deductible.
Yeah.
But we can't even afford that because it's between $3,500 to $6,000, sometimes even $10,000 deductible. So basically, you're paying your insurance premium, taking it out of your paycheck, and you never even get to pay off that part of your portion of the deductible. Like, how can we eliminate that process and just say, hey, after you make 6 payments of whatever, or after you make your 3 months worth of premiums are taken out of your paycheck, then you just start getting this certain amount of coverage, instead of saying you have to meet your deductible of $6,000 and we never reach it, and forget it. Why even have insurance,
Yeah. And that's where I just shared earlier about one of my plans is whatever you're writing off, right? Whatever your deductible is, 500, 300, 600, 1,000, 10,000. Some plans are 15,000 before you actually get coverage, before they pick up. And even then you still have a co-insurance, but that's what it is. You get to write that off as an individual. So you're talking millions of Americans that are sitting there shelling out money until they hit a portion. Yeah. And depending on your utilization and how sick you are, you might meet it faster. But if you're a healthy individual or a healthy family, it typically takes you almost all year.
Yes.
And to your point, don't do it.
Yeah.
So again, you get to write that off, whatever that numerical is, right? And Kiko knows, and he's a great friend of mine. He's a great patriot, and I love what he does. But every bill has to go through appropriations. You got to find the fund, and there's a lot that goes into writing bills, getting them out of committees, into the House and floor, Senate, et cetera, et cetera. So a lot of work. But again, we need healthcare people to understand.
Yeah.
In my race, there are 13 candidates, including myself. Again, I'm the only one that has healthcare experience, and every single person who's sitting in Congress has to hire a lobbyist to understand it. It's complicated. It literally shut the government down.
Wow. One more thing. So about the Medicare, I used to be in Medicare and in finances, and I used to always think, why do people have to start paying for Medicare monthly when they reach a certain age, when they've paid for Medicare all their life, all working, So even now, like, they take out of our paychecks every month, every week, our portions. Why don't they just raise that $3, $4, $6 portion to a higher amount, maybe just $10? That way, when you reach the age of Social Security, you no longer have to pay. Why fine them for not having prescription coverage? Like, all of that should have been intertwined into one bundle, and not A, B, and C, and then you're fined for this, you're fined for that, you didn't reach this, Like, I just don't think that they should be paying. I don't know. When I was a financial professional, it was, I think, $156 a month. I'm not sure how much it is now. I know it went up because my mom told me it went up, but I don't remember the number. But I don't think senior citizens should even be paying that number. It's too much. And if they're getting $600 or $1,600 and that amount is still coming out of their and their spouses, like, what's the point of them getting that?
It's a broken system, and I would say it's a cliche saying, but we have the best and the worst healthcare system in the world. And my joke is I have a bachelor's and master's in health administration, 20 years experience, and I don't understand healthcare, right? And so a lay member of society it's complicated, that complicated. And it intertwines, to your point, so many avenues on that aspect, and there's so many moving pieces with it, and so many parts of it, a hospital and physicians and pharmaceuticals and DME equipment. You can just go on and on and on. So it's complicated. So Yeah, I'm sure we didn't come here to talk all healthcare, so I'm open to any
but
other subjects.
I'm intrigued.
Yeah.
I'm always intrigued. You know what I mean? Like, no matter what the topic is, but healthcare is up there. The number one, I think the number one concern for constituents would be the economy, because they cannot afford to even eat or put gas or pay their rent on time, you know? And so what's your plan to help lower economic cost?
Yeah, I'll share one more thing on healthcare, and this is from the Politico. Republicans think RFK Jr. can help them in the midterms. Democrats worry that's true. The mainstream media is finally saying what insiders know: RFK Maha's agenda could swing the midterms. Single issue, healthcare can swing the midterms for the Republican Party. I say affordability is tough, and what I would say a few months ago when President Trump and J.D. Vance went on the campaign trail across this nation, particularly many states, talking about affordability. And you know who coined the affordability phrase? The Democrats. And so they're pushing it, right? Who's the one that caused the increase of eggs? Joe Biden. Who's the one that caused the increased cost of oil and gas? Joe Biden. Who's the one that increased the cost of home goods and building homes? Joe Biden, right? Inflation, hyperinflation, right? And so it's interesting to see what they did, and now they're turning around and trying to push it on the Republican Party. And what I would say is that President Trump has done more in 1 year than most presidents have done in 20 for this nation and for this country, particularly the affordability. I'm a huge proponent of the what people call tariffs. They forget the first part, which is reciprocal tariffs. What that means is our countries that are supposedly our allies were taking advantage of us, particularly the things that we consumed, the things that we bought, things we brought in this nation, our taxpayers, our dollar, our economy. And so I'm grateful for that. He's standing up for America to bring American manufacturers. Look, he's brought in $18 trillion of manufacturing jobs back to America. That comes with jobs. That comes with the economy. So there's so many things you can down, so like, right? The price of eggs down, the oil and gas is the lowest. I think there's
Milk. Yeah.
milk, right? I mean, gasoline is like $1.80 across this nation. I mean, it's phenomenal stuff. And the world goes, particularly America, is when the energy cost is low, everything else drops.
Yep, that's right.
We're a consumer nation of $27 trillion, and that's why President Trump is able to go to China to get them to bend, Australia and Japan and England and France and everybody that was taking advantage of us. People don't know what was happening.
Yeah, exactly. They're
But it's tough.
blindsided by it.
How do you sell that message to the American people who still fill in their pocketbooks, right? How do you do that? And it's a campaign of messaging and getting
And
out there.
educating them about the issues. Yeah. Jessica, you got anything? You can't be quiet on me.
Yeah, I was gonna ask. So both of you, your district is 23, and then yours was 21, and yours, because I was reading your stuff, and it was also about the safe borders. So with the illegals that we're dealing with because of the previous administration, and they pour into the hospitals. Like, how are you guys gonna control that now?
That has to be addressed severely, because right now hospitals are under an obligation to take care of anybody that comes into the emergency.
So how do we stop that? I guess.
The only
what's
way
the
to
plan?
do it is to do two things: send them back, and if they want to come back, make sure that they go through the consular service in their country to come back. But at the same time, they have to come back to make sure that they've got an ability to take care of themselves. Because a lot of times these people cross over and they don't have the ability to take care of themselves. So they fall right in the purview of the state, the government, and other organizations to take care of them. And they get comfortable that way.
Yeah.
But I want to say one thing also, that what Kyle has said. When we talk about the economy and affordability, we're also piling in there health care, which has gone very, very high and very unaffordable to a lot of people, not just illegal immigrants that are coming in, but to human beings. It becomes very, very expensive. And even though it's very, very complex, what made it even more expensive was the law that was passed in 2009 called Obamacare, or the Affordable Care Act. And I fought very hard when I was in Congress to get rid of it. But you got to be able to know that there are 2 or 3 portions of it that are okay, that we can deal with, like the portability of of your plan if you leave one job and porting it to another job that has another insurance company that covers it. And also pre-existing conditions. Pre-existing conditions, that means that if all of a sudden you lose your job and you find out that you had cancer a week before, the other insurance company where you get your new job is not going to cover you because of a pre-existing condition. And if they do cover you, they're going to cover you at an astronomical premium that just doesn't make sense. We need to bring it down and make sure that a lot of those costs are picked up by the states and that the federal government doesn't have a one deal for everybody or one shoe that fits everybody. It doesn't work that way. But we got to remember that costs of living, you got to be able to put in there health care, because I don't care who you are, how young you are, or how old you are, you're going to meet the doctor and or the hospital in that 1 year, once or twice.
Yeah, what I'll share, what's interesting, Kigo talked about it. We're a nation of law and orders.
Yeah.
And you're not hearing this talked about. There is 8 U.S.C. Code 1325, which is a federal crime for anybody across the border outside of a port of entry. Federal crime, right? Millions of people did that under the Biden administration. And then you have a different one, which is 8 U.S.C. 1324, which talks about with inside the border to harbor, conceal, or stop ICE from performing their job. So let's get to Minnesota. What's going on in Minnesota? Are they doing that? Absolutely. They're breaking the federal law. That includes the governor, the mayor, city council, elected officials, and even citizens trying to impede law enforcement, particularly ICE. And so
Give them the prison time. Give it to them.
yeah, so what did President Trump do? He sent Tom Homan, prior ICE director, former border czar, to do what? Establish that ICE is a credible law enforcement and then force them to give up their criminals. And that's what he's after, because they have a federal duty and responsibility because the states gave that to the United States government to practice that very thing. Look, I'll tell you, the day President Trump put out a message that Tom Homan's going, I text Tom Homan. I said, good luck in Minnesota, and America's behind you. And he immediately texted back within minutes and said, thank you, sir. And they've done a phenomenal job on trying to bring down the temperature. And you saw within 24 hours what the governor said and what's going on in that state. And that's how you have to do it. Now, the thing I will caution you is that there's a saying that says, from George Orwell, it says that all tyrannies rule through fraud and force. And when fraud is uncovered, they must rule by force. What did we uncover literally weeks before this? The massive fraud, $19 billion worth. But my biggest concern is not Minnesota, because I think that's the tip of the iceberg. The biggest concern is California, which is hundreds and hundreds of billions of dollars of fraud on the American people. So I think you're going to see crackdown across this nation on that. So that's my 2 cents on it.
And I want to add a couple of more cents to what you just said, Kyle, and I'm sure you'll agree with me. A lot of that is the fault of congressmen and people in federal government that have failed or refused to uncover that fraud, even though they know that it's going on. And yet they continue to allocate funds for a railway that doesn't go anywhere and doesn't even get built, and all sorts of other gimmicks that are in place that money keeps coming in for the federal government to feed it. Yours and my tax dollars.
Well, and that's what President Trump is talking about. And that's where he made Minnesota, particularly in Minneapolis, establish that they are not a sanctuary city. Because if they are, he can cut off federal funding. And so it's interesting the dynamics that's going on between the federal government and the states. And I'm a big states guy, right? I think our Constitution was set up to have limited federal government, more rights and more power at the states. But in this case, I think the federal government is doing the right thing under the Trump administration.
So let's talk about speaking about doing the right thing. How will you ensure that you're representing your district, not party leadership, and not special interest groups? So I'm going to ask you both the same question, but you go first.
Yeah, I would say it's interesting. I was just in a debate, and they asked a very similar question just the other night. And I kept saying, and I'll share this again, the best predictor of future behavior, which is what you're asking about, is past behavior.
Yep.
And the best example I can give in Texas 21, and particularly the 12 other candidates running, we just went through the deadliest floods in U.S. history.
Yeah.
U.S. history. Mm-hmm. We still have 2 people missing. But my question is, what did you do? There's a candidate that will get up and say, oh, I remember when the floods happened and I went home to my family. And I'm like, oh my good Lord, I can't believe you're saying that. To the people in
Because they
Kerrville.
ran away from the.
And on day 3, I joined a veteran crew, a chainsaw team, cadaver dog team, and did search and recovery.
Oh, I do remember that. You were
3
out
days
there.
after. I'm the only candidate in Texas 21 that went to it and ran to it. So I think, to your point, that's how it is. That's how you become or keep from becoming a rhino, right? And how you work. Because most people when they go up to Congress, I can't speak for Kiko because I wasn't involved in politics and he's a great guy, but most people when they get into Congress, they worry about their constituents, or their co-workers, each other, getting on committees, getting on the clubs and all the invites, and they forget about their constituents.
Yep.
And that's how you do it, is you continue to fight the issues, be the face of many things in front, and you're not afraid of it, to be other people, from the people, and for the people. So that's how I do it. I lead by example. You guys saw it when I was the vice chair. I fought a lot of issues in the city, became the face of it, was unapologetic of it, and that's, I think, my opinion. So I'll turn it to Keith.
Kyle, you're absolutely right. If you're true to your values, very, very important. But you got to back them up with what have you been doing? Yeah. What have you done that proves that you are true to your values? Mm-hmm. You have done them. And I will boldly say that I have too. Yeah. But one important thing to Cindy's question with regards, how do you deal with your constituents? The first and foremost thing that you need to do as a congressman is stay close to your values and make sure that it is under the sieve of your values that you see what the issues are, that you feel for humanity and what humanity requires you to do and how to do it. And to be able to say, no, that's unfair because this is what you want and this is what the other people need, and the people that need have not asked me for it. But this is what you want, and what you want sort of goes against my values. And I think that once you're guided by those values, you can deal with 100% of your constituents and do the right thing for them, and hopefully be a leader that's going to catch them into following a proper path.
I love it because it's kind of like being politically risky, but you're basing it on your values, so you're willing to take that risk.
Mm-hmm.
But I will say, to your point, Cindy, there are a lot of elected officials that will not do that. Mm-hmm. When the tough issues come, they will not stand up.
Exactly.
And what I found in my past is that when elected officials don't stand up, unfortunately, I have to get the media involved, and then they start moving.
Yeah.
And it's sad. That's on both sides. It doesn't matter if you're Republican or Democrat.
Kyle, I want to tell you something. And I had told you thank you the other day. Like, thank you for responding to the call, because a lot of people in your race have reached out to me. And I would just say that they're not true to their word. Yeah. And I'm just me, little old Cindy, you know what I mean? Like, hey, I do work hard when asked. I'm going to be there, and I'm going to be loyal 100% and work 110% for whatever candidate I put my name on. But when they contact me and then they don't want to follow up, return the calls, or answer the text for what they asked me for, hey, I'm not asking y'all for nothing. But if you want to ask me for something and then you don't follow through, that tells me who you are. So the other day I ran into you. When I asked you to come on the radio the other day, you've been on here before. But the other day when I ran into both of y'all on a Thursday night, last Thursday I went after the radio show to where y'all were, and to an event. And I saw several of your opponents there. And one of them would not even give me the time of day. And I said, how sad. You know what I mean? Like, I have a lot of say in this race too. I do. And I can sway a lot of people. And I have before. And I went home and I told Jessica, she was like, did you get to talk to so-and-so? Yeah. And I was like, no, he treated me like, yeah. Mm-hmm. And she was like, what? I go, and then his campaign worker came up to me, here you go, ma'am. I said, oh, you can keep it, because he wouldn't even give me the time of day. So why would I take that from you? I'm not going to vote for him. I'm not going to have him on my radio. I'm not going to, and I just sent him back. Thank you very much, son. Go give it to somebody else. I'm not going to even waste my time. But Jessica was shocked too, because she's like, what? Like, he did that? And I told her, I said, yeah. I said, about 4 or 5 candidates have reached out to me from your race. And I thought, that's crazy. Like, I know who deserves it. I know who should win it. But some people are just want to be in it because, it's a free open seat. And they're just like, I'm putting my hat in the basket. A lot of people say that they're called to be in politics. Well, where there's a vision, there's provision. And if it's really meant for you to be, then God will provide and open up the way, open up the door, and put you right where you should be and position you right there. And you don't have to treat people bad.
Well, and I'll add something too. This is interesting, particularly, I know Kego's race only has 4 people, right? You're at 4, right? Mine has 13. And what you're going to find, and I've seen this time and time again, is that 90% of the people, because it's going to go to a runoff, right? And the runoff, in order to win, you have to get 51%. If nobody gets 51%, it goes to the top 2 candidates, and then you go an additional 4 to 6 weeks, and then you do a runoff. What you're going to find is that the majority of the candidates in my race who have never been involved in the party before politics and running for office will die away and fall away. And that's one thing I will give Kiko credit to after, again, when he left or was done with Congress, he turned inward. Mm-hmm. And I did the same thing. But you're going to find the majority of candidates. And there's 149 candidates running in the state of Texas right now for U.S. Congress, 149. The majority of them will never come back to the party after they lose.
Yeah, and I've seen that too, because some of the candidates from this past November, don't go away. You were a good candidate. They had good, skills that they brought to the table and on their resume and stuff, but they just evaporate, and then they no longer care about the issues, and then they're just there, hiding or doing whatever it is that they do, And I know that, I've only ran once, and it took me to be a candidate to understand candidates behind the scenes and what it really took. So that kind of lit a whole new fire under me to help others. So I knew what it took to lose, and I knew what it took now to win. So when I get behind a candidate, trust me, I support them. You have anything, Jessica? We got about 2.5 minutes.
So you both spoke about values. Define each of you, your values.
Come closer to the mic, he says.
Yeah, define, what are your values? Because you both said,
what values guide you?
Yeah, because you're speaking on values, and, this is how you would show the people. So what are your values?
Yeah, and I would define values as an unchangeable core principle of who I am. It doesn't matter what's going on in the world or what's going on. That's just who I am, right? And I think for me is Christ-centered. I heard Kiko say that, but that's the number one thing for me. All glory goes to God. And that's the biggest thing for me. I try to be Christ-like. I'm not perfect, but I know our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ is perfect. So that's a big one for me, right? And then it goes for me is family, right? Being a good husband, good father, try to be an example for my children to do the right thing. And then you start developing your community-based, right? So I'm a big person that the nucleus is the family, and then you go to your church community, then you go to your regular community, your city, then you go to the state, then you go nation, and then you go outwards, right? And so I think you have to have that. But for me, those are huge principles for me. Integrity is a big thing for me. Say what you're going to mean, do what you're going to say. The biggest thing for integrity is doing the right thing even when nobody's looking, right? But that's the biggest thing I can say. There's a lot more values. I don't want to take all the time, but for me, those are...
Well, you answered the right one, because that's the main one. I feel if you're being Jesus-led, it's going to fall into place. Because unfortunately, we do have people who are, they go off of different religions, like Muslims and things like that. So that always, I feel like we need to pay attention to those kind of values when it comes to... We didn't even talk about
that. That is
another story.
Hot topic.
Yeah, exactly.
That's a whole other show. So.
Yes. We could do part 2
seriously, we're going to
yes.
next week. Next week we have Miss Latin America. Well, what's her name? Miss Latin Texas. Miss Latina Texas coming on. But okay, so one last minute, sir, because we gotta go.
Yeah. I would echo the same thing that Kyle just said. I've been a Christian all my life. I've been a Catholic all my life. And one thing that I want to say is that you don't just read the Bible once. You keep reading and reading and reading, and it speaks to you different times. It's very important. So you got to keep reading it, no matter how, well, you're reading the same thing, but no, there are many different ways of hearing it. And each time you read it, something else tells you. So if you're centered on those values, I've been married 47 years to the same wife. I've got 3 children. They're also very adherent to faith and to their families. Family is extremely important. I have 7 brothers and sisters. I'm one of 8, and we're very close. We've lost our parents, and we substitute for our parents, what we are, because we stay together. Those things are very important. In my work, I strive to be very, very honest, with a lot of integrity. If I don't like what I see, and I need to tell the client exactly what I feel and what I believe in, and I tell them, don't waste your money because you're not going to get anywhere. Whereas there are others that, I don't mean to criticize those of my profession, but others that say, well, I need some money, so you want to try it? We'll try it, but I don't believe that it's going to work. I don't touch things if I don't believe that it's right or if it's correct. And I think those values added to what Kyle just said are extremely important, and they have to be lived and not just said by the candidate, but have something behind them that's going to be able to show that the character and the integrity and the loyalty and the vision is there. Because you also have to have a vision going forward based on your past.
Yeah, and I'll just add one more piece, and that is faith without works is dead. Yeah. Right? You can't say I'm a Christian man and then you don't represent.
Exactly.
And that's a huge thing for me. And that's why, for me, there's a lot of issues I don't really want to get involved in, but I do it because if not me, then who? Right? I want to be able to tell my 8 kids that I fought for this issue.
Yeah.
I didn't mind taking on human trafficking or Trinidad Rwanda gang or getting after the mayor or any of those other things. So voter harvesting. So for me, that's what it is. Faith without works is dead.
I don't tell my kids that I'm involved in politics right now, but that brings us to the end. We're in the last 2 minutes, and we're gonna have to go because Otto has to run. But I want to thank Kiko Conseco and Kyle Sinclair for joining us today, for stepping forward to serve the community, for running for Congress. It's not easy. It's not easy at all, and it matters to voters to hear directly from them. So that's why we brought them both on today. No matter where you land, I mean, here we are conservatives. That's why we're called Red Lip Latina, because what comes out of our mouth is conservative and red, literally. But no matter where you stand, we encourage everyone to listen, to stay informed, to ask questions, to participate in the process, and get engaged. It's the foundation of a strong republic. So, and I just want to one last note that this show is brought to you. This is how we pay the bills and keep the lights on, by Red Lip Latina Beauty, guys. So we're fully in stock. But thank you for tuning in today. We'll see y'all next Thursday. We do have Miss Latina of America coming in. She's so beautiful. She'll be coming in, and we're looking for one more special guest for next Thursday. So if you have someone that you want to recommend to be on the show, please inbox me and let me know. All right. Thank you, Otto. See you next Thursday.
Thank you, Jessica and Cindy.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Yes, nice to meet you.
That's a wrap for today on Red Lip Latina Radio. We tackled the issues, we lifted up our community, and we kept it bold, real, and unapologetic. But the conversation doesn't stop here. We stay loud, stay proud, and stay engaged. Follow us, join the movement, and let's keep making noise for San Antonio, Texas, and the whole USA. Until next time, you keep your head high, your lipstick bold, and your voice even bolder. Nos vemos, familia.